What if the biggest mistake you ever made was an act of kindness? What if the shoes you gave away carried your children's future? This isn't just a story. This happens every day in Nigeria, and you won't believe how deep envy can go. Welcome to a chilling tale of wealth, betrayal, and spiritual warfare. This is Shoes of Innocence. You'll never look at a simple act of generosity the same way again. The Adekunle family was the picture of success. Living in a luxury duplex in Lekki Phase 1, they had it all. Booming business, 3 flashy cars, and 2 handsome boys. Tunde, 10, and Fola, 7. Their mother, Madam Ronk, was well known in the estate for her generous heart. During every church harvest, she donated clothes, food, and toys to the less privileged, insisting, "God blesses us to bless others." But one Sunday after service, her simple act of giving would open a door she didn't realize could be opened. She gave out her boys' barely used designer sneakers, Jordans, Yeezys, even a custom Italian leather pair, to Suliat, a teenage church cleaner. "Take them," she smiled. "Your brother can wear them to school." Suliat, stunned, whispered a thank you and rushed home to Mushin. But her aunt, Mama Idaya, didn't share the joy. Her eyes narrowed as she examined the shoes. "These people two-day chop life," she muttered bitterly. "Let's see if they'll still shine after this." That night, without telling Suliat, she wrapped the shoes in red cloth and set off for Ijebu, to see Baba Ajaguna, the one who reverses destinies. But as the flames of ritual fire licked the soles of those innocent shoes, something shifted in the spirit. And back in Lekki, the Adekunle boys woke up screaming. That same night Mama Idaya dropped the shoes at Baba Ajaguna's shrine. Back in Lekki, Madam Ronk jolted out of sleep. Tund and Fola were both screaming in their separate rooms, sweating, crying, shaking. "Mummy, Mummy, don't let them take me," Tunde cried, clutching his chest. Fola wouldn't stop pointing to the corner of his room, yelling, "They're hiding there. The men with no faces." Their father, Chief Adekunle, dismissed it as nightmares. After all, kids have wild imaginations. But deep down, Madam Ronk felt a chill. Something wasn't right. By morning, both boys had dark circles under their eyes and refused to enter their rooms alone. Tunde kept hearing footsteps on the stairs. Fola would stare blankly into space and whisper, "He's wearing my shoes." They refused breakfast. At school, Tunde, usually top of his class, failed a simple spelling test. His teacher called, "Ma, your son was crying in the bathroom. He said someone is stealing his brain." Ronk's heart sank. Still, she brushed it off. Maybe they just miss their cousins, she told herself. But when Fola stood in the middle of their living room that night and muttered in Yoruba, "Mon Podawa, I'm coming back," in a voice that wasn't his, Madam Ronk knew something was terribly, terribly wrong. But it was only the beginning. The shoes had only just started walking. In Mushin, Suliat's younger brother Waisiu began to act strangely too, but not in fear. He suddenly became brilliant. A boy who once struggled to spell his name now spoke fluent English. He answered his teacher's questions before she finished asking. At the local mosque, people began to whisper, "Is that not Waisiu? He dey speak like white man oh." His handwriting looked suspiciously like Tunde's, clean cursive, flawless. He even won a scholarship to a private school in Ikeja, something no one in his family ever dreamed of. Mama Idaya smiled silently as she watched Waisiu's rise. She didn't tell anyone she had buried the boy's shoes under her bed, wrapped in charms and herbs. Baba Ajaguna had told her, "Their glory go transfer small. Just let the boy wear the shoes often." And he did. Whenever Waisiu wore the red Yeezys, he spoke with confidence that shocked even adults. "Your son is gifted," his new principal said. "He must come from a strong family line." Mama Idaya laughed quietly. "Yes, oh, very strong." But deep inside, something kept whispering to her, "You touched innocence. Innocence doesn't die in silence." And back in Lekki, Fola collapsed for the first time. At First Life Hospital in Victoria Island, tests showed nothing. Your son is fine medically, the doctor said. No infection, no fever, all vitals normal. But Fola's eyes twitched. He kept saying the same thing. They took my feet. Madam Ronk broke down in the car park. Chief Adekunle started to get suspicious. Who did you give those shoes to? He asked his wife. The ones you gave after church. She stuttered. Suliat, from church. It's just shoes now. He stared at her. Shoes carry sweat. Sweat carries destiny. You didn't know. Desperate, they visited Prophet TJ from Fire Mantle Ministry. As soon as the prophet stepped into their home, he froze. Something left this house. Something that wasn't supposed to leave. He demanded for photos of the boys and laid hands on them. He saw a vision, a woman with a wrapper on her chest, digging under a leaking roof, whispering incantations. Madam, someone buried your children's destiny, and she's transferring it to another child. Your boys are walking without stars. Madam Ronk screamed. Please, what do we do? The prophet looked her dead in the eye. We must retrieve those shoes. Before it's too late. But what if the shoes no longer want to come back? Madam Ronk couldn't sleep. The next morning, she drove herself. No escort, no driver, straight to Mushin. She found Suliat at her church compound, cleaning as usual. The girl looked shocked to see her. Ma, you came. Where's your house? Ronk snapped. Now. On getting to Mama Idaya's house, the tension was thick. As soon as Ronk stepped in, her head began to spin. She saw baby clothes hanging from the ceiling, strange powders under the chairs. Mama Idaya came out, all smiles. Ah, big madam. You didn't call before coming. Oh. I want the shoes back, Madam Ronk said firmly. The ones I gave your niece. Mama Idaya's smile faded. Ah, shoes ko. She don't use 'em na. Ronk's voice cracked. Please, my children are suffering. Mama Idaya squinted, her tone changing. Maybe now you carry problem come. Don't blame poor people for your warola. Ronk grabbed Suliat's hand and whispered, Did your aunt take them anywhere? Suliat's eyes filled with tears. Yes ma, to Ijibu, she said. She said it's to collect back our future. Ronk stumbled back. What future? My children's own. And then she saw them, the shoes, under the bed, wrapped in palm leaves, still warm. Madam Ronk's hands trembled as she knelt beside the bed. The shoes, her boy's precious shoes, were tied together with a black string and smeared with camwood and ashes. She reached for them, but Mama Idaya hissed. No touch 'am. If you remove 'em like that, your children fit die. Suliat burst into tears. I didn't know she took them, Ma. I swear I didn't know. Ronk stood up slowly. I'm coming back. With fire. And she meant it, spiritually and legally. That evening, back in Lekki, Prophet TJ prepared for war. We must not just recover the shoes. We must break the altar where the exchange was sealed, he warned. There is a shrine. I see red cloth, cowries, and a baby goat skull. He called for a 7-day vigil and instructed the Adekunles to fast. Your sons were born with light, he told them. But darkness has borrowed it. If we don't act now, they will forget who they are completely, and another child will be raised wearing their destiny. Ronk clenched her fists. Let's go to Ijibu. But the roads to restoration are never smooth, especially when someone doesn't want the light returned. Ijibu was hot, thick with dust and ancient secrets. Prophet TJ, Chief Adekunle, and 2 church prayer warriors accompanied Madam Ronk to Baba Ajaguna's shrine. When they arrived, the herbalist was already waiting outside like he'd been expecting them. His eyes were pale and strange, and his voice carried weight. Why have you come? The deal is done. TJ stepped forward. Return what is not yours. The Babalawo laughed. Did you see me in her house? I didn't come to them. They came to me. Chief Adekunle raised his voice. Our children are innocent. The Babalawo shook his head slowly. Innocence is no shield when envy is a sword. You gave your children's shoes freely. That means you gave their path, their print, their favor. He pointed to a rusted bowl on the ground, full of sand, feathers, and melted rubber. They already walk in your son's feet. To undo it, the blood that was received must return what it took. Ronk felt cold all over. What blood? The herbalist turned. Go and ask Mama Idaya. But when they got back to Lagos, Mama Idaya had disappeared. In Mushin, things were changing fast. Wasiu, once shy and withdrawn, now strutted confidently in school. He debated with teachers, corrected imams, and even predicted lottery numbers that won twice. But his eyes, once kind and soft, were now sharp, old, calculating. One day, he stood before Mama Idaya and said calmly, My name is Tunde. Why am I here? She froze. What did you say? My name is Tunde Adekunle. Why do I know things I've never seen? Mama Idaya panicked and tried to lock the shoes away, but Wasiu refused to remove them. If you take them, I will disappear. The boy began to draw floor plans of the Adekunle's house. He described their kitchen, their TV, their cook's name. They're calling me, he said. That night, he screamed in his sleep, thrashing around the room. Take me home. Let me go back. The neighbors started gossiping. That boy is possessed. Maybe Madam did something to him. But Suliat knew the truth. Her aunt had taken what wasn't hers, and now even the thief was afraid. And the spirit trapped in borrowed shoes wanted to go back to its true owner. Madam Ronk, now barely sleeping, returned to Prophet TJ. What if the boy wants to come back? What if we call him? The Prophet nodded. Children respond to voices they love. Let us cry out in prayer. The entire family knelt that night in their parlor. Gospel music played softly, but the cries were loud. Tunde, Fola, come back. You are sons of Zion. You are not lost. Your path is not stolen. As they prayed, the power cut suddenly. The house plunged into darkness. And then, the strangest thing happened. Fola, still weak, walked to the balcony barefoot and stood still, staring into the night. Mummy, he said. He's coming. Tunde is coming. But he's not alone. Thunder cracked. Lights flickered back on. And then Tunde ran down the stairs. But his eyes weren't fully his. He whispered, The boy who wore my shoes wants to stay. He says this house feels better. Ronk grabbed her son, sobbing. No one is taking your place. Not while I breathe. But how do you fight a boy wearing your son's soul, when the world now sees him as gifted? Prophet TJ announced it. Tonight, the swap must end. We must bring the shoes to the altar. We must speak directly to both spirits, the stolen and the stolen from. But with Mama Idaya missing, it was Suliat who risked everything. She broke into her aunt's room, retrieved the shoes, and brought them to church wrapped in white cloth. She will kill me if she finds out, she cried. But it's not right. My brother was never this smart. This is not his glory. At midnight, the prayer began. The shoes were placed on the altar. Fola and Tunde were anointed with oil. Wasiu, far away in Mushin, fell into a deep sleep he couldn't wake from. The prophet shouted, Return what was taken. Give back what is not yours. The room filled with a strange wind. The shoes burst into flame, but did not burn. Fola began to cry. Mummy, he's leaving now. The other boy is leaving. But destiny doesn't like being shared. And something refused to go quietly. The fire that engulfed the shoes on the altar glowed white hot, yet they remained intact. Not even the cloth wrapping them turned to ash. The congregation gasped. Prophet TJ's voice shook. This is not ordinary. The fire is cleansing, but the covenant is still active. Tunde fell to his knees, clutching his chest. Something is crawling inside me, he screamed. The prophet commanded. Speak. Who entered you? But it wasn't Tunde who responded. It was a deeper, older voice. I was called. I did not steal. I was invited. Everyone froze. It was the voice of Wasiu, speaking through Tunde's body. They wanted me to shine, so I took what was offered. But the light is too bright. I am burning. Then the voice vanished. Silence filled the room. Prophet TJ knew what it meant. Both children were now spiritually entangled. Undoing this wouldn't just require prayers. It would require repentance from the one who started it all. But where was Mama Idaya? And far away in Ijibu, someone was preparing to silence her, permanently. News broke the next day. Mama Idaya had been found unconscious in a shallow ditch near a remote shrine in Ijibu. Locals said she had gone there with a calabash and collapsed before reaching the entrance. Her eyes were open, but she could not speak. Her mouth moved, but no sound came out. It's spiritual paralysis, the prophet confirmed. The spirits she summoned have turned against her. They fed on her bitterness. And now, there is nothing left to feed. Suliat, now visibly shaken, visited her aunt in the hospital. She whispered, You could have just prayed for us. You didn't have to steal. Tears rolled down her cheeks. You hurt them. And you hurt me too. Back in Lekki, Wasiu had begun to vomit violently. Every time he wore the shoes, he would collapse. Finally, he looked at Suliat and said, I want to give it back. The transfer had begun to crack. But the prophet warned, the giving must be complete. No shadow must remain. But something, or someone, still refused to let go of the wealth that didn't belong to them. That night, Prophet TJ had a dream. In it, a woman in rags stood barefoot, clutching the flaming shoes. Her eyes were hollow, but her voice rang like a bell. We have been forgotten. You eat while we beg. Why shouldn't we take? When he awoke, he was drenched in sweat. He called Chief Adakunal. Sir, this is deeper than a family curse. This is the cry of the streets, the voice of the forgotten. Someone fed their poverty with your children's glory, and that hunger has become a spirit of its own. Chief Adakunal was silent. For the first time, he understood. This wasn't just about his sons. It was about imbalance. The shoes had been passed from abundance to lack, and now lack had grown claws. That evening, they gathered again at Fire Mantle Ministry. The shoes were returned to the altar. The prophet prayed, Every spirit that was fed through this gift, return what you've stolen, and disappear into dry places. Wasiu began to convulse. Fola screamed. And Tunde fainted. When Tunde woke up, he no longer remembered his name. For 3 days, Tunde sat quietly, looking out the window, not speaking, not reacting. His eyes were empty. The doctors said it was amnesia. The prophet said it was spiritual detachment. His soul is still in transit, he explained. Until every part of him is called back, he will be a shell. Madame Ronk wept at his feet. I'm sorry, my son. I only wanted to bless someone. I didn't know. But guilt didn't heal. Only restoration could. In Mushin, Wasiu stopped going to school. He gave away the shoes and refused to speak English again. I don't want it, he told Suliat. I just want to be Wasiu again. Meanwhile, Prophet TJ declared a final midnight deliverance. We will anoint both boys with the oil of reversal. But this time you, Madame Ronk, must break the covenant you unknowingly created. She was handed a candle and the surviving pair of shoes. Speak to them, the prophet ordered. Speak and call your sons back. But when she opened her mouth, another voice answered. The moment Madame Ronk tried to speak, the shoes trembled on the altar. The prophet shouted, Everyone kneel. The spirit is manifesting. Madame Ronk screamed, but it wasn't her scream. It was a deep male voice coming from her throat. You gave us away. You said, take them. So we took. Why now? Why cry? Her body stiffened. Chief Adekunle grabbed her, shouting prayers, but her eyes rolled back. You must close the door you opened. Until then, we will dance in every foot that wears these shoes. The prophet poured anointing oil over her head, chanting psalms. The church erupted in loud prayer. Suddenly, Madame Ronk collapsed, unconscious. But Tunde stirred in his seat. Mummy. His voice was soft. Everyone froze. Where am I? Slowly, he looked around. Is this home? Tears filled everyone's eyes. Fola ran to his brother, hugging him tightly. You came back. But the prophet frowned. One child has returned, he said. But the exchange is not yet complete. Because Wasiu still hadn't returned everything. Wasiu could no longer sleep. He kept waking up reciting names he didn't know, solving math equations in his dreams, and hearing voices that weren't his. He stood by the window one morning and whispered, I know I'm not supposed to be here. Suliat cried beside him. Let's tell them everything. You don't need this glory. You're special in your own way. Wasiu nodded slowly. But I don't know who I am anymore. I feel like I'm both me and someone else. They returned to Fire Mantle Ministry. Prophet TJ laid hands on him. This boy carries a borrowed star. And a borrowed star will never feel right. Until it's returned, neither he nor Tunde will be whole. Wasiu knelt before the altar willingly this time. He placed both hands on the flame-resistant shoes and said, Please, take it back. I want to be Wasiu again. But the air grew thick. The lights flickered. Then, a wind blew through the church. Loud, heavy, final. And the prophet shouted, The gate is open. One star returns, one soul resets, in Jesus' name. Wasiu screamed as if being ripped open from the inside. Tunde, standing nearby, collapsed again. Madame Ronk sobbed. God please. One more time. Don't take my son again. And then, silence. Wasiu fell forward, shaking, then gasped and looked up. His voice changed. Sister. Where are we? It was the real Wasiu. His eyes softened, innocence returned. He looked confused. Why are people looking at me like this? Tunde rose from the floor and rubbed his eyes. Mummy. Madame Ronk rushed to him. He smiled. I had a long dream. But I'm okay now. The prophet raised his hands. The exchange is over. Both destinies have returned home. But he added, This is your final warning, madam. Never again give away what carries the scent of your child. The feet carry glory. The path is spiritual. Chief Adekunle nodded solemnly. From now on, we will give, but with discernment. And as everyone rejoiced, a forgotten shadow stirred beneath the church altar. Though the boys were healed, things had changed forever. Tunde occasionally paused mid-sentence, trying to recall things. Wasiu cried sometimes, afraid to sleep. What if they take me again? He asked. The prophet assured him. You've been sealed now. Your soul is yours. Madame Ronk continued to sponsor Suliat and Wasiu's schooling, not from guilt, but from love. I know you didn't ask for this, she told them. I gave freely. But next time, I'll give wisely. Meanwhile, Mama Idaya remained in a psychiatric home. She hadn't spoken since that day in Ijibu. Every morning, she would scribble something on her wall. Don't wear what isn't yours. And every night, she laughed silently at nothing. A nurse whispered, She sees things that are not there. Her own daughter refused to visit. Her greed had not only destroyed herself, but almost 2 innocent families. And somewhere, in a marketplace in Ogun, a woman offered a child's sandal to a street seller. The cycle had only paused, not ended. Months passed. Tunde and Fola returned to school. Tunde's brilliance slowly came back, though he was quieter, more reflective. Fola now slept with a Bible under his pillow. Wasiu began drawing, pictures of light and shadows, of roads splitting into two. Prophet TJ wrote a book titled Footprints of Glory, The Dangers of Innocent Exchange. It became a bestseller across churches in Nigeria. People are perishing, he wrote, for lack of spiritual understanding. At a church conference, Madame Ronk gave a testimony. She broke down halfway through. Don't just give. Pray first. Ask first. Not every hand that collects comes empty. The crowd wept. After the service, a woman approached her. Please, Ma, my sister also gave out her son's uniform. Since then, strange things have been happening. Ronk took her hand. Come with me. You're not alone. Let's go and pray. Because now, she had become a voice. A guardian of the innocent. 1 year later, on a sunny Sunday morning, Madame Ronk opened an old shoebox. Inside were Tunde's first walking shoes. Scuffed. Dirty. Unusable. But powerful. She smiled and kissed them. These won't be given to anyone, she whispered. Not again. She placed them on a prayer shelf. A reminder of what they'd been through. A warning. A testimony. Outside, Tunde and Fola ran around the garden, laughing. Wasiu visited orphan, now calling Ronk mummy too. Peace had returned. The air in the house no longer felt heavy. Even the help noticed. Madam, this house day smile now. And deep in Mushin, someone burned a red cloth under the moonlight, ending a chapter they never should have opened. Because glory isn't in the shoe. It's in the soul that walks in it. And once you give that away carelessly, you may never get it back. They say it's just shoes. But in our land, nothing is just. Not a word. Not a gift. Not even the footprint of a child. Be careful what you give, and who you give it to. Because some acts of kindness come at a price. Thank you for watching Shoes of Innocence. If this story touched you, drop a comment below. Share your thoughts, your fears, or even your own experiences. Don't forget to like, share, and hit that notification bell, because more real stories are coming. And remember, protect your children. Spiritually.